Big question here on Morning Kickaround for Wednesday, February 26th, with the USL Division One news and kind of everyone getting excited and the thought process bubbling of what would the USL Division One look like, or USL Premier as it might be called. What would that look like when it happens? It's supposed to come about in 26 or 27. And we thought, wanting to play a little bit of experiment. What teams that exist now or maybe in the near future would we like to see populate this new USL division? There's a few that seem like shoo-ins, but I think it's open for debate. Who would be in that first 12 teams to make USL Premier?
Yeah, so I went over to USL Pro, which is the subreddit for USL fans on Reddit, and I'm borrowing this from ya boy 5547. So credit to ya boy 5547 for his service. Thank you very much, sir. This is a good map. Not only does it include actual existing USL teams, it's got potential teams, some expansion stuff. Now there's some stuff in here that I'm a little behind on. Like we're moving quick. We got teams coming out of everywhere. Like there's a team in Alabama. I was like, it didn't Dothan. Dothan's got a team? What's going on there? I've been to Dothan. Just to let you know.
What's doing in Dothan?
I don't know what's doing in Dothan. Okay, so we're going to pick out the clubs we think. Now, remember here, for PLS, and we're going to use PLS guidelines in the big picture. I don't think we're going to drill down on stadiums here, Rob. And I guess we do kind of have to worry about million population in terms of the area, the metro, but I think we'll probably be able to get there just by falling backwards into it. What we do have to keep in mind is that you have to have 12 teams to start. You got to have 14 teams by year 3. So we'll start with the 12. We'll just do the 12.
Yeah. And
we have to check off 3 time zones. And we were talking about this. Where the time zones are is part of the story here. I think we have a general sense of where these things are. I know I'm in the East. You're in the East. You're up there in Michigan. A little bit further to the west is Central, and then, of course, we know the mountain states and then the Pacific states. So, all right, so what's the most obvious? Who's the most obvious team here jump straight in?
The one that smacks me in the face of someone who they've earned it. They've won the second division multiple times. They got the big stadium. They, from the outside, seem to be an incredibly professionally run organization. The first one that jumps out to me is Louisville.
All right, so Louisville straight in. I agree with you. Now, there's, just because, even though we're not going to drill down on it too specifically, should be mentioned that while Lynn Family Stadium is not big enough right now to meet the 15,000 capacity threshold, it is expandable. So if there was a D1 and they got this off the ground and they needed their stadiums to be 15,000, Louisville could expand and check that box. So that's one of a dozen. And I think you're right. I think that is probably the number one candidate to go in to the league. Now, I'm going to propose, and this is not just because I'm biased by the place of my birth, grew up there for a whole 2 months, Sacramento Republic. I think they got to go straight in, right? A pretty big metropolitan area, pretty big city by USL standards, and stadium is coming, but I think they're going to get there.
Yeah, they're an interesting one. They found some success. They went to the U.S. Open Cup semifinal, and to your point, they've got a little bit of history behind them. They are run in a professional manner. They had MLS aspirations, so clearly they've always had that first division on their mind. With the stadium on its way, they seem like they would be interested in that first division.
Yeah. Okay. So we got 2, and I believe that means we check off two time zones. So we're already good. We're getting there on time zones. All right, number 3, Rob. Propose me a team. Give me one.
I like filling in the time zone, so I'm gonna go with Phoenix Rising.
Okay.
They are maybe not necessarily. I don't know what their financial ownership situation is, but they are definitely aspirational. They've gotten in some exciting players in the past. They've had success, and they seem like a team from out here, from outsider perspective. They seem like a team that is ambitious and is hungry to do more than they are now.
Okay, that I agree with that. I've had some interesting conversations with people who've been attached to Phoenix Rising over the years. It's been a little while since I've seen anybody or had those conversations. But I will say, they were aiming for MLS eventually, and I don't know if they were ever maybe kind of blocked off of MLS by some other things happening in terms of MLS expansion. But eventually they went like, okay, you know what? We don't need this. We can control things if we're in the USL that we can't control for in Major League Soccer. So I agree with that one. They've done some stadium. They've been pretty flexible with their stadium situations over the years that they've been trying to grow, find the right place. So I could see that. And obviously, that's the biggest city without an MLS team.
Mm-hmm.
So they'd be great for the USL to have a major market there in Phoenix. All right. So, and by the way, in the chat, you guys want to throw out some suggestions? We will consider them. Urias is giving us both the Oakland Roots and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and I will come back to those. I don't think those are off the top obvious candidates for me yet, or at least they wouldn't be if I was doing this priority wise. Ranking them, I don't think I would have either one of those teams in there yet. Now, I believe this could be a stadium issue, but again, maybe we cross that bridge when we get there. I'm going to go Tampa Bay Rowdies and throw an Eastern team into the mix here, Rob. Do you agree the Rowdies feel like a D1 kind of club?
Yes, they were one of the first teams that came to mind. Pretty rich history, at least with the name attached to them. They have an established fan base. They seem to, more often than not, have one of the best squads in the league. You mentioned stadium. I know that they have one of the nicest views from a stadium and probably in North America, looking out over the water there. You mentioned Stadia. They get a good crowd there. Are you saying that because it's a converted baseball stadium, they might be looking elsewhere, or what did you mean by that?
Yeah, I don't think it's big enough. So, and I don't know how much bigger Al Lang Stadium can get. So it is again, this is one of those things like how many waivers will USL need to get their Division One off the ground? Because while Tampa is a big market and you would love to have them involved from the get-go, they may not be able to check the stadium box right away.
Another team that I'd throw out there, and I know one of our regular viewers, Harry, is a big fan, but he might actually push back on this because he said that they go back and forth between how much they want to spend. But San Antonio, they are connected to San Antonio Spurs, or at least they were. They were one of the bigger spenders in the championship. So I don't know if it's a 100% guarantee, but I think of the clubs that might be interested in this, I'd say San Antonio.
Okay, so this is what I got so far: Louisville, Phoenix, Sacramento, Tampa, San Antonio. So we got 5. We still need we still got 7 open spots for our D1. Now let's just take stock here because we don't want to lose the thread on this. I know we're going to go a little long today. We've got a team out west. We've got a team in the Mountain Time Zone. We got a team in Louisville in the eastern part of the country, Midwest, but eastern part of the country. Obviously, Tampa, San Antonio, obviously dead center of the country in the Central Time Zone. So time zone's no problem. We do. There is a little bit of geographical things happening. Probably this is a single table situation. I don't think we need to be worrying about conferences with 12 teams, right? You don't need 6-team conferences. So we can just go straight out. Now that our time zones are done, and again, how many 75% have to be million plus? I'm not sure where we got 1, 2, 3, probably 4 at least right now. I don't think Louisville's a million plus. I'd have to check, but definitely San Antonio, Tampa, Sacramento, Phoenix feel like million plus metros.
I might be a bad commissioner because I'd be writing waivers left and right on this stuff.
Well, what bad U.S. soccer president? Like, is that what you're saying?
You look good. You're in.
Okay. All right. Louisville's 1+ million says one of the comments. So in terms of that, maybe we're good. Maybe okay.
I think Brooks is onto something in the chat. Throwing out there, it's also a Central Time Zone team, Indy 11. They have, they've been kind of one of the leaders as far as, wanting to be professionalized, and they have stadium in the mix. And I know there's been There's a little bit of weirdness with possibly MLS encroaching in on there, but as far as Indy 11 in isolation, I feel like would be a team that would benefit or would be a good addition to the
Okay.
top division in the USL.
Yeah, I mean it's they've shown some ambition. I mean the stadium thing has always made it a little bit dicey. I'm going to do this. I mean I know that again stadium is an issue here, but I feel like I really believe that at this point Detroit's got to be in this, right? Detroit City, just based on the club that they've been, what they've grown there, what they've built, how sort of famous they are for who they are. I think Detroit City's got to be in this league. Am I wrong?
I think you're right there, and there's a great, great room for or a great points for them to be in it. Obviously, they're one of the highest crowds, average crowds. They are famous. They are very ambitious. At least as they are right now, they are very threadbare. I think that they've put on the professional veneer, but are still at the heart,
Okay.
still a community
right.
team. And I think
Yeah.
that maybe if the buy-in to the league is a lot, they might be scared away. Perhaps that changes, once they have their own stadium, and things might change. Like the DCFC might be a very different club in the next 5 years. So
All right,
I could see there's
that's
an
fair.
argument for it, but it might be a bridge too far
Are you-
if the
are you
spending goes
vetoing?
up.
Are you vetoing Detroit for the initial? I can take them off. I can take them off.
They're not an immediate in for me, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, you're closer to Detroit than I am, so I will give you that. Okay. So no Detroit. We take them off the board. In that case, as I'm working through here, I'm not sure there's a lot of obvious candidates at this point. So out west, Vegas plays in a baseball stadium, but that's obviously a big market. You got Oakland. That's a big market as well. They're going to be able to meet this if they play in the Oakland Coliseum, obviously. They've done some things. That's a community club. I don't know that they have the spending power that I kind of think of just straight up jumping in. I mean, at one point they were amateur, they go pro. Now they're following sort of a Detroit City FC model. But do you think that Oakland needs to be in just on the strength of the market?
They would be a good market. They seem to be making some deals. I think, are they moving into a formerly are they moving into the Oakland baseball stadium?
They're going to play in the Coliseum, I believe, for the time being. They want to build their own place, but for the time being, they're going to be in the Oakland Coliseum.
Okay, so there's a large capacity there. They've definitely got their marketing down. Everyone really likes their jerseys. They're aspirational. So can we put Detroit and Oakland as the possible 13 and 14 team, maybe within 3 years sort of a team? Because I don't know, how much.
Okay, let's
I don't
put
know if they're
them in
ready
as,
off the front.
let's just put them together the way that I did there, DCFC and Oak, just as placeholders here, because we got to get to 12. We got to get to 12. You want to nominate? Nominate.
All right, so nominate. They're new to the scene, but it seems like they are progressing. Rhode Island FC.
Okay, I wondered if this was going to come up. So you want to throw Rhode Island, Pravi in the mix? Okay, I'm not against it. Made a final in their first year, so kind of hard to argue that they haven't done something on the field at least that maybe merits inclusion in a top division.
All right, for moving on again, Colorado Springs. Perhaps the Switchbacks are in there. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Again, champions, right? So feel like a team that belongs just on merit on the field. They've built their stadium. It's not real big. They would have to expand that stadium a lot. I think. Again, we're going to kind of run into this on a regular basis as we talk about these teams. They just don't have the stadiums to meet the criteria for PLS. If there are waivers given. Okay, I'll give you Colorado Springs. So what are we up to now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 4 spots left that we need to fill. Are we running out of obvious? I mean, North Carolina FC out of Raleigh, right? We've got Birmingham Legion out of Birmingham, Alabama. They play in a big football stadium, so they would meet the stadium requirement. I don't know that jumps off as a first division market for some people. Again, I threw out Vegas. They're not in here yet. We haven't included them yet.
Let's
Robert,
do Vegas. Let's do
you
Vegas.
Want to put Vegas
I like
in?
that. The Las Vegas Lights, great marketing. They're not competing with an MLS team. They're in a big-ish city. They've done well at their level so far. Not necessarily success on the field, but I think they would be an entertaining addition to a new league. And then if this has come up a couple times. I've seen folks asking us if the Cosmos will ever come back, and if they do, will it be in this league?
Oh, it's possible. I mean, they have a stadium issue that they would have to deal with. I mean, I don't. That's the thing. We could go a little speculative here, and there are even like the Buffalo team is coming in, and I'm looking at the expansion page for the USL Championship. You've got Brooklyn FC that's supposed to launch at some point in the near future. You got the Jacksonville team; they are on here. I think the Brooklyn team is represented. You can see the B there in the little inset. So you got the Brooklyn team, you got the Jacksonville team, you got Santa Barbara Sky. They're also here in that inset down there in Southern California. I don't think they're going to rate. Milwaukee is supposed to come in at some point. Obviously, we haven't mentioned Madison, although I'm not sure that feels like a first division kind of town, even if maybe they've been very great with their marketing. Ozark United, Buffalo, as I mentioned. Dallas is supposed to be putting a team together. Those expansion teams that are kind of on paper, I guess we could include those and ponder their inclusion. But I don't know want to go with like, oh, are the Cosmos coming back and could they be a USL team? When, I have no way to predict what Rocco Commisso might do or whether he wants to be involved in somebody else's league after what he went through.
So to put a bow on this, we are at 9 teams that we are pretty confident in, and then we have 2 alternates, and then you'd think by the time this league comes online, there'll be 2 expansion teams. So I feel comfortable if we picked one more team and as our locked in 10.
Okay, so so you're saying we got to put Detroit City and Oakland in here then, in order to get to the 12. Like I want this to be 12, Robert. I won't. My OCD will not be satisfied.
You won't be good with 10 with 2 possibles and 2 future considerations.
No, that's a job incomplete. What are you talking about right now? So I'm doing again. I know. The professional spending levels are definitely a thing. Again, stadium in Detroit, some other stuff. Oakland, maybe it's a little bit of a leap, but I'm putting them in because again, you got a couple of big markets, and definitely that's something that this league is going to need.
All right, so we're at 11 here for our initial 12-team rollout without possible future expansions. So we are picking one more team be in our hypothetical.
Who gets in?
Division 1. So
I will let me throw this out there. There's a new Oklahoma effort, even though I think this map has Oklahoma City Energy. They're not playing right now. Just to throw that out there. I'm my brain is Pittsburgh's been mentioned in the chat. See, that's a pretty sizable market. They've got a nice little stadium, but it's a little stadium. I think, if you're talking about the financial health of the club, it's hard to put the Richmond Kickers into this division, even though I would love to see them. They obviously, relegated themselves at various points. And North Carolina, I mentioned North Carolina. Somebody said we should have a Carolina team. So do we need a Carolina team here? There are options, just none of them are obvious candidates, I don't think.
Yeah, that probably speaks to the work yet to be done by clubs and this league to flush it out and make it, deep with good teams. If we're going to pick a 12th one now, should we go middle of the country or East Coast? Because I'm thinking Carolina or maybe a Tulsa, and then this might be a weird one, Miami FC.
I don't think Miami FC, man, maybe. Okay. If we're going to have a question over Detroit, then maybe what we do is we put Miami in here, even though I have lots of concerns about that team and sort of how important they are, not just in Miami, but to their owner these days. Mm-hmm. And then, okay, so we've got Rhode Island in here. I guess that's about as much of the Northeast as we need. Hartford's an interesting one. They've been poorly run in terms of their on-field product, so they don't really deserve an opportunity to be first division based on that. I can't. Okay, I'm gonna put North Carolina in here. I'm gonna. That's pretty sizable market. I don't know exactly the size of that Raleigh market, but pretty sizable market. Probably meets the criteria for D1. And then
so
we got
there
Miami.
It is. There is our rough draft. Our first draft. We could come back to this. Our first draft of the USL Premier is Louisville, Phoenix, Sacramento, Tampa, San Antonio, Indy, Rhode Island, Colorado Springs, Las Vegas, Oakland, Miami, and North Carolina. Does that seem like a first division lineup just on the face of it with the city names?
It kind of does. It kind of none of those jump out and you go, oh yeah, that's a first division. I mean, look, there's no major sports team in Providence, Rhode Island. There's no major sports team in Louisville, Kentucky, but there are, and Colorado Springs, I guess, also is in that group. But there are major sports teams in all of those other cities, right? All those other cities have one of the big four, at least one. So I think you can, just based on that, it feels like it's kind of a major league in that way. I wonder if anybody in the chat has teams we might be missing who they think deserve a little bit of love. Okay. Pittsburgh snub is utter woke. Not how is it woke? What does that even mean? I don't even
So
know
is
what that
Pittsburgh
means.
a non-woke city, and so
I have
is
no
the
idea.
opposition of woke?
I don't look. Okay, if we were going to put Pittsburgh in, which city gets bumped if we put Pittsburgh in?
Which city gets bumped? It would have to be probably Miami or North Carolina.
Okay, Miami or North Carolina. All right, I guess you could argue that. I've seen, there all have been stadium plans in Raleigh. They're not far along, and I think some of it was predicated on the, or maybe they're moving along. I don't know exactly where they are, but some of them were predicated on the MLS coming to town, which obviously didn't happen. So I don't know. Pittsburgh. Okay, if we throw in Pittsburgh to make Urias Tosh happy, then I think I would pull. I hate to say it, I'd pull Colorado Springs. I think if I put Pittsburgh in. Again, Colorado Springs is the champion of the USL Championship. They feel like they deserve to move up in terms of on field. But if we're just talking about cities, it's Pittsburgh. Now, if we're talking about merit, it's a completely different question. Like merit in terms of on field product, that's a different question.
A completely different.
And then
altogether.
maybe Las Vegas gets bumped. I mean, they played the playoffs last year, but maybe they get bumped. Miami was bad last season, right? Or they're bad now. I'm not sure where they are. We're getting ready for the new season in USL, but I think they were bad last season, so they probably don't deserve it. Okay, this is what comments are made for, right? For people to disagree with us.
A couple other shouts before we go. Union Omaha, they've been good on the field. Small town, but if it's a merit-based system, perhaps they move up. And then Chattanooga FC, we wouldn't include them in this just because they are a MLS Next Pro team and not currently within the USL setup. I mean, they would be a great team.
Let me just clarify that I would just love for this league to be populated by teams who earn the right to be in this league. Yeah. Like we're picking markets because there are PLS standards, and I think there's a perception thing that USL has to deal with when they get to the first division launching. But if we're just talking like as a soccer guy, of course I want it to be you win your way, you earn your way into the first division. So and there are some cities that you would hope have that opportunity. Union Omaha, League One. We didn't have any League One teams, right? We didn't have any League One cities included in our 12. All of those were USL Championship cities, right? But you could say Union Omaha maybe deserves a little bit of love. I think I mentioned Richmond. Who else is League? Madison. We didn't really consider Ford Madison as a possibility, but they're there, right? And they've done really good stuff to create a community environment and market their teams in ways that make them stand out.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. And if you want to keep this conversation going, hit us up in the comments. What teams do you want to see? What cities would you be excited to see in the USL Premier, the proposed first division league in USL's setup? Thank you for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button in Morning Kick Round. Currently at 994 as we finish up the show today. So by the time we come back on Friday, could be, hopefully, over that 1,000 subscriber mark.
Wait, hold on. We lost a subscriber during the show? Oh, man. That
it must
hurts.
have been the Cosmos fan. It must have been the Cosmos fan.
Maybe. That's the utter woke nonsense, I guess, is what that is.
Follow us on social media at MKickAround on the X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com, or donate to the show with some dollars. You can do it at ko-fi.com/morningkickaround. Fun show, ran a little long, but the conversation continues. And I guess best wishes to the women tonight as they look for their She Believes Championship. We'll talk about that and more on Friday morning when we return. Until then, everybody, please enjoy your soccer.